Perfect. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to True North AmeriCorps Site Supervisor Training. Just a quick introduction of our team here. Melissa Fanning is our Executive Branch Director. She's here on this call today. She's been a part of the Y for many years and even was the True North Director for some time. And we're really grateful for her insight and expertise and her time today. So grateful for Melissa. My name is Haley Lawson. I've probably met most of you either virtually or in person. I've been the coordinator for the last year, but just moved into the program director role this summer. And I'm really excited to be placing members at all of your sites and supporting your youth this summer. My pronouns are she, her, and really passionate about social emotional learning and service. And she's not on the call today, but you will be meeting her, the end of the summer and in the fall. Shay Peacock is our new our new program coordinator. She uses she, her pronouns as well, and she comes from an extensive background of service. She's served in AmeriCorps in 3 different states in 3 different terms and has been coordinating volunteers for the Forestry Service in the past. So we're really excited to have her on board as well. So these are the faces you're going to be seeing. This is who's here to help support you, and I'll send out our contact details afterwards as well. So our goals for today, we've got this scheduled till 12, but I think we could potentially get out a little bit early for y'all. I know you're so busy, and summer especially is busy, but really our goals today are that you're comfortable with the AmeriCorps policies, whether you're a new site supervisor or you're returning, just making sure that you understand what those are, and also a better understanding of our program, your members' essential functions and how they're going to support your site. Understand your role as a site supervisor, what's essential for you in supporting them. Confident in your True North AmeriCorps data collection, and then also confident using Encore, where you do your in-kind and your members' timesheets. So at the end, you should feel really comfortable with all of that. So I'm going to dive right into rules and regulations. Again, for some of you, this might be a refresher. Some of you, this might be brand new information, but really important because it does help kind of frame our program. So essentially, AmeriCorps is a federal program. They always say where there's a problem, there's an AmeriCorps program trying to solve it. It is a national network service opportunity, so people can engage in a variety of programs. So you have AmeriCorps at that federal level, and we are part of Serve Minnesota, which is our state commission. We are an education-based program, much like AMPACT is also an education program doing reading and math corps, but there's also Conservation Corps and Northern Bedrock. These are all part of the state commission and different AmeriCorps programs here in Duluth that you might be familiar with. But True North AmeriCorps is a program that's quite unique. We're the only social emotional learning program in the Duluth area, and that's what we're focusing on to help your youth. When you're talking about your AmeriCorps member, it's important to know the language we use. So your member is serving your site. They're not your staff and they're not working there, they're serving. They're contracted through True North AmeriCorps. They have a set number of hours that they have to achieve in their service term, and they're really all about just helping provide the service that you need. So when we use the language today, you're going to hear me say member and serving quite a lot, and that's language I encourage you to use as well, especially when you're introducing your member to the different people at your site, whether it's your principals or your directors or just even your fellow employees. Introducing your member using this kind of language. Also at the federal level, these are prohibited activities. So your member on AmeriCorps time cannot do any of the following. They cannot participate in politics, attempt to influence legislation, advocate for or against political parties, platforms, candidates, elected officials. They cannot engage in protests, petitions, boycotts, strikes, assist, promote union organizing. They cannot engage in religious activities, including worship, being part of a program that includes mandatory religious instruction, etc. Benefit a for-profit business, labor union, or partisan political organization. Conduct voter registration drive, election and polling activities, or census activities, or provide abortion referral services. So while this is kind of an extensive list, the member can do this in their personal time, right? They are free to do what they want in their free time. But as an AmeriCorps member wearing service gear and for AmeriCorps time, this is strictly prohibited. So they can never do any of this while being, 4 hours or for their AmeriCorps service. Safety and field trips, they come up throughout the year. So we just want to make sure that our members are, as safe as possible, as well as your youth. So know that they can never be the only adult on a field trip, and they can also never do overnight unless there's a specific form that they complete and get approval by myself and Melissa. There's no swimming without a lifeguard, no ice skating as a member. If you do go ice skating this summer, your member can go on that field trip and kind of help on the sidelines, tie up those laces, but we're not going to get them out on the ice and blades. And if they are going to do any driving for your site, please reach out to me. There's a background check and some training that we provide, and also just some regulations that we have to talk through. So if you feel like that's a need for your site, reach out to me. Your member is also required to do first aid and CPR certification with the Y, or if they already have that certification, they must turn that in. They also have some West Bend trainings, and all of these trainings are required within the first 30 days of service. So making sure that they've got time at site to kind of clock in, have that desk set up, that computer set up where they can get these done, because it is essential that they finish these within the first 30 days of their term. Fundraising, members cannot participate in fundraising. So important to know that if you are doing a fundraiser for your site, they can attend as a citizen, as a community member, but they can't do it for AmeriCorps time. They also can't help you set up. So sometimes people are like, well, what if they just help bring the chairs or type up the paperwork? They really shouldn't. It's prohibited on their time. They shouldn't be fundraising for your site. In the spring, we do something called Global Youth Service Day, and sometimes the youth will do like a fundraiser, like a food drive or a book drive. That is a different scenario, so you can reach out to me if that's going to be happening at your site, but general fundraising, including preparation for that fundraiser, is not allowed with your member. Incident reporting. So you probably at your site have a specific incident report that you have to follow for your youth, but know that your member is covered under the WISE workers' comp. So if your member is hurt, they do have to fill out the WISE incident report, and they have to contact me or Shay within 24 hours. We've been told before that if you don't contact us in 24 hours, the workers' comp could not be covered. So we really need to be notified right away, and we'll get them the paperwork that they need to fill out right away. If it's youth at site that are being injured and a staff would have to fill out that incident report, your member can assist or give a statement, but they really shouldn't be doing that for your staff. We could see that as a displacement issue. So just know that if it's your member being hurt, it's the WISE incident report. They're covered under our workers' comp. Let us know in 24 hours. If it's youth, they can support the staff or yourself in the incident report, but they really shouldn't be doing it for you or the staff. And in general, your member should be appropriate. They should have, appropriate clothing, dress code expectations, appropriate behavior with youth. They really should be following the schedule that you are determining. So when they're brought on, they have that contract of X amount of hours they need to serve through the end of their term. And it's you kind of telling them when you need them there, right? You're going to help, you're going to sit down and be like, this is your schedule. This is what I'm expecting you to do. And this is a contracted position for them. They should be following that schedule strictly. That's what they're there for. And also know that they should never be one-on-one with a child in a non-observable space. So, if there's a group setting happening and there's a kid having a hard time, your member can work with them one-on-one, like in that space, but they shouldn't be taking the youth somewhere that you don't know where they're at or unobservable. Also know that your member doesn't count in ratio. So if they're going to do like a small group work and they're in a larger space and there's another staff there and that staff is in ratio, then they can do that small group independently, but really they're not going to be the staff member there and they're not going to count in ratio. So they're really about building that capacity for your site and being able to help meet more youth needs because you have more hands on deck. So that's really what they're there for. We already talked a bit about this. Their contracted weekly average is in their contract, so it'll either be part-time or full-time. And they have to serve through the end of their contracted end date unless pre-approved by both TNAC and you. They should be serving a minimum of 5 hours each week. That 5 hours each week is what we determine actively serving. And if they're going to have a 0-hour week, it needs to be pre-approved by you and sent to me. We do kind of build in some 0-hour weeks, around like the winter holiday and in the spring, and maybe even in the summer, we build one in around the 4th of July. Those aren't strictly set in stone. We provide our members with like an hours plan, and I'll send it to you in an email after this training today. But really, it's what's going to work best for your site's needs. If you would rather them serve through a break and take that 0-hour week later, we understand that burnout happens. We want members to feel like they can take some time off, much like your staff would, but understand that it's a conversation to be had and it does need your pre-approval. All hours should be served at site. We do have a slight change in our teleservice policy this year where if there's a weather closure or the site is closed and they need to get some hours in, they can do that. There's just a form they need to fill out and it needs to be approved by TNAC staff. So that's that with hours. The disciplinary process is handled by True North AmeriCorps in partnership with you. So really the most important thing to get kind of a good framework for your members is member expectation form. And you'll notice that this year we're doing a lot more with digital forms just to make it easier so you're not having to print and scan and send back. So I'm going to open this up in a window and I'll also post a link in the chat. So this is going to be your member expectation form. This is the first week of site, your member's there, and you're going to sit down together and say, okay, you're here, you're contracted. Here's your schedule. What are the lunch breaks? Maybe you upload a detailed schedule if you have a paper copy. Here's that tracking form we were talking about when is the time off going to be? Are there lunch breaks going to be service lunch breaks where they're doing maybe their data, their caseload information, lesson planning, or is it a break where they're not serving at all? So really setting this up at the start can help any of those disciplinary procedures in advance, right? If they know what time to be there, if they know what their break is really clearly, then we can avoid any problems later on. So I'll send this to you. We ask that you get this done within the first week of service. It really shouldn't take too long, maybe 5-10 minutes of your conversation in that first week getting together. So yes, that's in the chat. And we just expect that, if a member is having an issue, right, maybe they're showing up late, maybe they're leaving early, maybe they're not communicating with you, whatever that could be, please contact me right away. And I will help navigate that. Whether it's reaching out to the member and having that conversation, that would be the verbal warning, that first step. If the issue continues or if the issue is a little more serious, we could jump straight to that written warning with an improvement plan. And that always sounds a bit intimidating, but I like to say that often, we go with a mode of curiosity, right? Like what is hindering you from meeting your expectations and how can we help you? That's really what we want. My job is that they're successful. So really that improvement plan is just about recalibrating, getting on the same page. And often I've done this and seen members be really successful in their service afterwards. So don't feel like you can't reach out. Really the plan is to help the member, not about getting them in trouble. However, if service is just not a fit, if they're not meeting those expectations, if they're not supporting you with their essential functions, then we could move to suspension or termination. This could also happen if they receive a different job or if something much more serious happens in a breach of their code of conduct, then we would move to that. It's important to know that we document all of this for you and we manage their files. So really just need to let us know what's happening and we'll take care of this for you. And if at any point we can jump to any step of this disciplinary process. So members are told this at orientation as well, that this is how this is handled. And at any point, depending on the situation, we can jump to there.